We're just doing it. We're just doing this episode. Let me tell you what it's about. It's about how you can age backwards. Point blank, period. This is Hot Topics Live podcast. I'm Kia. I'm a coach, and I love to interview people who can help you live your best life possible. This is a reminder that you are amazing and you deserve to be living your best life possible just because you exist, just because you were born. This is your birthright. And my guest today is going to help you do just that. So, this is part two. We're going to talk to you about something called human growth hormone. And my guest is an extraordinary woman. Let me tell you about her. Her name's Kate Unger. She is the host of Living Your Juiciest Life Ever podcast, and she is a healthy hormones expert. She's a lifestyle expert. She's a self-love coach. She's a vocalist. She's a speaker, and she's an author as well. So if you're ready to start living your juiciest life possible, then stay tuned because Kate is just about to come out. But before she does, or should I say, come on, but before she does, I want to give a shout out to my sponsor. This episode is sponsored by Eris Health. You can find Eris Health on Instagram, and what Eris Health is doing is revolutionizing the mental health app space. So stay tuned for this amazing app that's going to really help so many people. And if you want to be part of that journey to see it come to life, then go to Instagram. Just give her a follow. I'm not even selling anything. I'm just telling you. Go on over there, give her a follow at Eris Health on Instagram. Send her a DM. Tell her Kia sent you from Hot Topics Live podcast. And if you are watching this podcast live, this is your chance to join the conversation. So write me a message. I'll put it up on the screen. We can have a dialogue. If you have questions for my guests or any guest that comes on this podcast, you can ask them questions, join the conversation, throw some tea up in there, throw some shade if you want to. Whatever you want to do, we're here for it. But actually, this is a place of love, so keep your shade to yourself. Anyway, without further ado, let me bring on my beautiful, amazing, successful, smart, and talented guest. Did I mention she was a Marilyn Monroe impersonator? And you know I'm living, okay, to see her here with me today. Here she is.
Thanks, Kia. We made it.
We did it!
Woo!
Yay!
Wow. I swear somebody doesn't want this to be on the air.
You know what? I will tell you what. If you didn't see part one of this episode, you have to go back and watch it. And where you can see us struggle through some technical issues and then decide to come back and do this episode over. And even before we started this episode, there was so many technical issues that we had to push through. And we call that crushing resistance.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. I can't tell you how many times in my past, in my life, and I was a professional at doing it in relationships, as I was really good at running. So commitment was not my best friend. And I've learned from being, now I am married, so I've mastered some of that for sure. And so now I see that all the challenges that are showing up in life are opportunities to up level and not run away from them, but to face them, to deal with them, and know that on the other side, I can be a bigger person. I can handle challenges better. Like, I think I used to crumble. I don't know about you, but I'd be like, I have to get off the phone now. I can't deal with this.
Well, before attending London Real Academy and being coached by my mentor, Brian Rose, and then becoming a coach, One of the things that I didn't have a full understanding of is resistance and what that is. And the
Mm,
fact that it can come from people, technology, life, like life can be lifing, as the kids say. And you fall apart, you crumble, you run, or you shut down, or you let someone tell you you shouldn't do something that you want to do, and you let them project their fears, and so you don't move forward, or you're afraid of losing people in your life, so you keep yourself stuck, or whatever the reason. All of that stuff is resistance. And so, like you said, the only way out is through. And so how
it's
you
so
level
true.
up and how you move forward in life is pushing through that resistance, and whether it's internal or external, because your own mind is probably the biggest resistance, and you just change your life for the better every time you do. It's like building a muscle, you know?
Yeah, just don't own. Just don't when it goes upside down. Don't own it and say, "Oh, this happens to me all the time." Never do that, because then we just invite more of it.
I agree. And I know this, I love this saying words or spells, right? Or
Mm,
how you break that down is like what you're saying creates your reality. So if you're
absolutely.
always saying I'm broke, I'm broke, I'm broke, you're attracting brokenness. If you are saying I'm broken as a person, then you're going to continue in brokenness. And if you're saying I can't, what is the saying? Whether you can or you can't, you think you can or you
You're
can't, you're right.
absolutely right. Yeah,
Right? Like, so I love
yeah,
that one too, because it's like, okay, if I'm thinking I can't do something, then I'm actually programming my subconscious mind that does all the work in our life, right?
yeah.
And you're
No
programming it
kidding.
that you can't. So that's huge. And trying to accomplish anything or do anything or be anything in this lifetime is not programming yourself in this matrix, if you will, against your own greatest good.
Yeah, yeah. So there's 4 words that just came up, and the 4 words that they say that you should eliminate from your vocabulary are try, but, need, and can't.
Wow. I
And there was actually a gentleman that I met at the gym one day, and he had a group that they were committed to. Anytime that they used any of those words, they had to put money into a bucket.
like a swear
And
jar.
so the awareness definitely goes up.
Yeah. 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 And I think being self-aware is really important. And so that's a good way to help yourself become that way. I like that for now, by no means am I saying you should be toxically positive, but I really don't like this war on positivity. I think you should program yourself for positive thinking. And that's not to say that bad things don't happen and you're not going to feel sad and you should never feel angry or upset or anything. It's just to say that when you do, you recognize that this is happening for you and figure out what the lesson is. And then you take that to make yourself and your life better. It's
Hmm.
perspective. So we're programmed for negativity, as they say, to keep ourselves safe from historical times, right? We have a negativity bias, it's called. And so
Hmm.
to fight that, I tell a lot of my coaching clients, like, replace that negative thought with 3 positive thoughts. So that jar would be really great for making yourself aware of every time you are persistently negative and changing your thought process. And it just takes time. It's like yoga or anything else. It's a practice.
Everything's practice. Everything, absolutely everything. It's so interesting because there's even things that we don't think about that we need to practice. And so when I'm doing something, and I'm going to, for lack of a better phrase, I'm doing something for real. When I'm doing something for real and it's not practice,
Mhm,
and I mess up, I call it practice,
mhm. I love
because
that.
it's not over. Like if I claim myself to be at the end of something, well, why would I do that? So I can always claim that I'm in the middle of the story. Because I can keep the story going until I get the end I want.
Mhm. Wow. That's really powerful. And that none of this is even the topic for today.
Yeah,
So,
but this is what we like to do.
yeah. Well, Hot Topics Live podcast is a conversation. It goes where it goes. So, but I do have a question for you because I
Mhm.
know that you are a lifestyle expert and a hormone guide. And how did you get into that? Like, what brought you to that?
Um, it's interesting because I started. I swear I don't know what the age was, but it feels like I started studying nutrition and supplementation and all those things. I got really interested in it, and and as I'm going through life, I'm going further and further back to go, oh, that fed into that. So my mom took me to a homeopath when I was a teenager. I think that's where it started. She took me to a homeopath because I had a rash. And my mom was more alternative than she seemed to be on the outside. But so anyway, she took me to this naturopath for this rash, and then he recommended 2 vitamins that I take to get rid of the rash. And it did. It worked. And I ended up seeing that man again as an adult. I had kind of long forgotten about him, and then I ended up actually remembering his name, calling him. He was still in Winnipeg. I was still in Winnipeg at the time. It was a few years later. And I remember going to his office, and he never wore shoes. He was actually walking around his office in socks. Something interesting to remember. Anyway, brilliant man. And so he was part of that journey. When I was 18, I started to find everything I could possibly find to read about nutrition and supplements and just alternative things. And I guess I'd have to say that I was never really a mainstream follower. Like when the time came, and you might remember this, maybe not, but when they started telling people that margarine was better for you than butter. Well, I think I lasted a couple of weeks, and I went, I can't eat this. This can't be right. This is horrible. And my girlfriend and I that lived together, my roommate and I we were on the same page. So we went back to butter. But all those things that happened along the way that somebody out there said, oh, this is good for you, I kind of went, I don't know. I think I'm going to check that out. I think I'm going to dig deeper. Does that make sense to me? Right? So it really fed my critical thinking piece. So as I went through life, I had a real knack for problem solving. And I try and remember to try. I'm creating a new habit of saying I'm a solution finder as opposed to a problem solver. Because it's so easy when we talk about negative and positive, it's really easy when we become an expert at finding a problem. What do we end up doing oftentimes, especially as women, is we start looking at ourselves all the time and saying, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? And that can lead to all kinds of issues, or I should say more challenges that will show up in our lives because it begins that real train of thought of brokenness, like you'd mentioned earlier. And so I was a specialist in problem solving and never realized the path that I was creating also on the inside. And it doesn't necessarily mean that other people are automatically going to do that. But if you're an expert in anything where you're seeking, you're talking to someone or you're coaching someone, they're coming to you because they have challenges. So yes, they are issues. And we can see from the outside how it can be solved. Having the awareness about not seeing the brokenness, but sort of switching the perspective gives us a whole new light, which makes making change easier. So that's kind of where it started. And I worked in the restaurant business. And even while I worked in the restaurant business, I would have conversations with people and they would be complaining or telling me about what their woes were. And I would be giving them solutions. It was a really, really natural knack for me to do. And after working many years in the restaurant business, I went, I need to do something else, because I was really burning out. I was losing my patience with people and owners of the restaurants and all these kinds of things. And so I started to seek, what am I going to do next? Long story short, I ended up becoming a shiatsu therapist. Again, not a massage therapist because that would have been too mainstream for me. I had to find something that was outside what the insurance was going to cover, just, something that was really interesting, an Eastern philosophy. So I dove deeper into, oh my goodness, different types of philosophies. I studied all kinds of different nutritional perspectives, ways of eating, supplementation, the 5 element theory in Chinese medicine, all these really super cool things. And we also got to study a lot of different things in school because it was all about physician heal thyself. So it's a multifaceted journey. And eventually, when I graduated, I called myself a healthy lifestyle coach. Someone said, "What qualifies you?" I said, "Life."
That's incredible.
Yeah. So it's we taking what we learn and applying it and helping others.
Well, I
And we
think,
do that in so many different ways, right?
yeah, I mean, I think at some point through living, just even if you never went to university, you never did anything, and you just had interests in things, and you just studied those things, say from the time you're 18
Yeah,
or earlier. And by the time you get to midlife, you're pretty much an expert. You could be an expert in anything you spend like an hour doing a day in 5 years. Isn't that what they say? So imagine 45 years, right?
that's
So
right.
of
Yeah.
course I could totally see that. And you and I have something in common.
Hmm.
So, I loved your story of how your mom took you to see a naturopath because when I was in middle school, I think 6th grade, my mom did 2 things for me that shaped my future. She took me to the gym with her, and she took me she's trying to lose weight. She took me to the gym with her, and she took me to the natural food store. And she introduced me to herbs, and she started telling me, so I'm around high school, she started telling me, "You should study metaphysics. You should look into natural healing. This is what I want for you." And being
Wow.
yeah, and being the, middle daughter, people pleasing habits of my youth, I was like, "Okay, mom, I'm gonna do whatever you want." Right? And so I did, and I don't regret it. So when they started saying eat margarine, not butter, okay, I feel that. But for me, it was artificial sweetener.
Oh, yeah. Why
And then
would I do that?
right? I cannot even stand the taste of it. So because I couldn't stand the taste of it, and my body is very, very sensitive, I've come to learn. So
Ditto.
when I anything that is unnatural, my body has an inflammatory response. So meaning if I get chicken mill eggs, right, where they don't treat the chickens well and they're all caged on top of each other and stuff like that, and I try to eat that, my body has a response
Oh,
immediately.
wow.
I can't do it. Like, I'll be nauseous. I can only eat like high quality meat, high quality eggs. It's expensive, so I have to eat less of it. But it's what it has to happen because my body is so sensitive. Without that knowledge, my mom started instilling into me as a young girl. I would not know half of the things that I know about
Mhm.
taking care of my body, and I would not have known that when they told me that I had to have a hysterectomy, that I should go see a naturopath. Now, I saw her too late, and it was already too far gone. She probably could have cured me, healed me, but I was in such a terrible state at that point that I was like, "I don't have time." Like, I feel like I'm dying. So,
Mm.
so they had to remove it, right? If I'd seen her sooner, if I thought to see her sooner, I probably could have prevented having the partial hysterectomy. So, it's understanding these things are so important, and having that lifelong love of this type of education and then being
Mhm.
able to help other people is such a beautiful calling. I love that you do that. And so I imagine that this love of helping people and everything you learned along the way brought you to discovering about human growth hormone. So what was that process?
Oh my goodness. Well, it's actually a very recent thing. It's not that so in all of the studying that I've done, I learned about hormones. I didn't realize that people didn't have a clue about them. I mean, there's a lot of things that I studied I didn't realize that sort of the general population had no idea. I didn't know they were taboo to talk about, you know? I didn't know I didn't know what I didn't know. All I, I always wanted to figure things out and figuring out how the body works and all that kind of thing. I'm not saying I'm a hormone expert, but I did go through a very my whole life I had bad periods. So my whole life in my world of menstruation and all of those things, I had and when I started to go through perimenopause, which I mean literally I thought I was losing my mind. And that's not an uncommon thing. When women go through perimenopause, when women go through menopause, postmenopause, their their patience runs out, they get angry, they there's so many things that happen. And so because I went through it and because I like to always try and figure stuff out, I found out what was going on. And I did actually do bioidentical hormones for a period of time. And then I weaned myself off because I knew that it was something that I didn't want to take forever because it's coming from mainstream. Just because something is bioidentical doesn't mean that it's purely safe for anyone for a long period of time. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. I don't want to speak too strongly about that, but I learned something more recently that kind of affirms my decisions, which is great. It's always good, and it's always good to dig into to discover and ask questions about everything. And so, so I went through the perimenopause. I weaned myself off. Again, I've always worked at taking good care of myself. I still have bad habits. Nobody's perfect. So please don't ever think that it's like, oh, someone doesn't live their life because they say they live well or live healthy. Like you do, you have to make smart choices for your body. And I do too, because I've noticed that I think it's an awareness more than sensitivity. I think a lot of times people aren't aware of what's going on in their body. That's what I've discovered working with people with their health for such a long time. They'll come into my office and check off all kinds of things that were going wrong in their lives, but they just thought that was normal, you know? So going back to the question that you asked, um, it was actually in the spring this year. I was introduced to some people, to friends of mine that were wanting to bring a product into Mexico. Excuse me. And I said, sure, I'll have a conversation, whatever it is. I mean, I'm open to, if it's a health product, I get excited and I want to listen. I want to hear. I want to explore what the possibilities are. And to be, you asked me actually a very personal question. So my trigger when I found out what it was the hopes that I could have less painful sex. That's what really got my interest, was the very first thing at the top of my mind, even though I didn't say it right away. And so I got to have that conversation. Is this potentially going to help me with that? And they said yes, potentially. So there's no medical claims, there's none of that, but it made sense to me because human growth hormone is amazing, because it's the mama of all hormones. And what I mean by that, I love this analogy in this picture. She is the mother of all hormones, which means that when the pituitary gland makes HGH, HGH can become any hormone in the body. The body says what it needs. So in the body's intelligence, right, we're starting with that human growth hormone that your pituitary gland makes, and the body decides what to do with that hormone in playing in its own orchestra. So when mama is abundant, so are the children. When mama's not doing so well, neither are her children. So that's just that first step of a little bit on the HGH.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty
So
amazing, huh?
that does sound really cool. So it identifies what the body needs and helps it create it?
Yeah. So for example, what happens is that when the pituitary gland, so how the HGH, the product that I use, and if we're taking bioidentical hormones of any kind, it's something that's being put, like a blood test is taken, your hormones are measured in that point in time. Then your concoction is created for you to the best of their ability as to what it is thinking that your body needs. Whatever we put inside our body to replace something that we apparently aren't getting enough of tells the gland or the organ not to create that anymore because it's not needed. For example, if we get diagnosed with something that goes wrong with our thyroid and we go on a synthetic hormone or a medication, it's telling the thyroid that it doesn't have to work anymore because it's getting replaced. Right? So we don't realize that that's what's actually happening in our body. So it gives it, so in a sense, on a high level, I'm going to say that it deals with the symptoms. So it might get rid of hot flashes. It might, improve our sleep for some time or whatever. And then you have to keep going and getting your levels checked so that they can adjust whatever's going on there. So I was on thyroid medication for 20 years. My doctor said, you will have to take this for the rest of your life. I said, you don't know me very well yet. And I spent from that day, it took me 22 years to get off of all thyroid medication. I just kept working on it. I started to understand why it happened. I went for different types of therapy, even spiritual healing, because when there's something that's chronic that's happening in our bodies, there's always an emotional piece. So for me, there was a non-forgiveness of myself that was going on. When I had a specific type of treatment and I saw what it was, then I went to a counselor to work through that, to release it. And when I released it, my need dropped hugely for the medication I was on. So there was all these different things that I did over the years because I believed my body's the miracle. My body's the miracle. I'm going to keep on working on it. I'm going to keep on working on it. Find the key. Find the key, go to the source, go to the root. So lots of experimentation in my life.
I love that. I find the root
Yeah.
because so I came across this mindset after my left kidney was removed. They're taking me apart piece by piece, by the way.
That's enough.
And
No more.
right? And so I discovered the emotional piece. I started researching what emotions are stored in what organs,
Yep.
right? So I
Kidneys,
could
fear.
learn what
Hmm.
was going on within me and what the cause was so that I could start to heal my body first in my thoughts and my emotions and then physically in my body, right? And so now I do a lot of the Silva method, if you know what that is.
Yes.
Um, but
Yeah.
I do that type of meditation every morning, and I always go into that state and go through all the things that are right with my body, right? And
Nice.
I will never receive the symptoms of these types of ailments. I have a video that I have from on YouTube, and it is Jose Silva himself guiding you through this meditation, and I love it. But that's
I'm
all
going to go
part of
check
it.
it out.
I'll send it to you.
Yeah.
In fact, I
Yeah.
will drop it later on today. I'll put it in the description of this episode for anyone who wants to check it out and learn a little bit more about the Silva method. But I read the books and I'm all in on that. So, but
Oh, it's
I
very
think
powerful.
it's
Yeah.
all part of that. Your body is the miracle and can heal itself type of thinking from Dr. Joseph Spenza and all of these thought leaders, right? And so if you go down those rabbit holes and research that stuff, you start to like go, okay, I have some power here. So to me, it makes a lot of sense that if you supplement the HGH in your body and it goes to the source like of what you need. So right now I take bioidentical hormones. Okay. And
Hmm.
like you, I thought I don't want to do this my whole life. Like I
Hmm.
feel like this is a means to an end. And like
Hmm.
you, I took it for a reason that's really personal, but I'm going to share it because you were brave and you shared yours. So I'm going to share mine too. So
Okay.
I was like, I had no clue what perimenopause was. I say this all the time. And I've done several episodes on perimenopause and menopause because I was like, why was this gate kept from me my whole life? I should have known about this when I learned about my period. Okay.
Yeah.
And so I should have been made aware of what to expect when I got into my mid to late 30s. And then they were like, oh, you are in premenopause. And I was like, what is premenopause? And then they were like, oh, you're in perimenopause. I'm like, what is perimenopause? Like, please tell me what it is, you
Oh my
know?
goodness.
And I had no clue. So now I've done episodes on this and ways to treat it and stuff like that and how to cope with it. And one of the wonderful symptoms that I got along with, the hot flashes and all of the things that you get was I got vaginal dryness. And I was
Oh,
like, oh, hell no. No, no, no. So, and it didn't start right away. Like all these different symptoms started happening over a period of 10 years. Okay. And so it started in my late 30s and now I'm in my late 40s. And I got to that point and I was like, you are not going to start effing with my sex life. That's not happening. And I'm a big advocate of the importance of sex and relationships. I believe that if you're not having a good sex life in your marriage is going to fail at some
yeah,
point, right?
absolutely.
Whether you actually stay together or you break up, the intimacy in your marriage is going to dissolve, and then you're going to be like living like best friends, and that's no way to live. Okay, sex is important. It's vital energy for as you're aging. You need to
Mm-hmm.
continue having sex. Like, that's one of my platforms. And so for me to experience this and go, hold on, what is happening to my juicy peach? Okay, I'm not having this. This is where I draw the line. So I went to the doctor and I was like, you got to help me. Like, this is where I draw the line. Okay.
Yeah.
Doctor was a man. It was funny, but it was the whole experience. And I got what I needed. And I decided, of all the hormones, I did all this research. I'm like, the best choice for me is the bioidentical kind. However, I don't want to be on it forever. And so when I had a call with you and you were talking about this, and I was thinking, this is something worth exploring. And I didn't know about it. And I think a lot of people really don't know about it and how important it is. And the other thing I do a lot of episodes on, as I'm getting to be a very older lady, and loving it, every day is a blessing. And that's aging and anti-aging, which
Mm-hmm.
actually the truth is I've been into anti-aging since I was 25 years old, and I've been doing this my whole life. That's something else I've been doing. But when you started talking about it, you hit my keywords. You said to me, I'm aging backwards. And I
Mm-hmm.
said, stop the presses. Tell me more. Okay, let's do that. Let's age backwards. How can we reverse our aging? So when you told me that this HGH can help me slow down my aging, not only, but actually reverse my aging, I was like, do tell, hun. Like, let me know all the tea so that I can prepare myself as I'm going forward. Because I'm not getting
Right.
any younger. I just still look young. So younger.
Yeah.
So
So,
let's keep
okay.
that going.
Yeah. So I'm going to just kind of cover a little bit about hormone. I mean, a little more about hormones is that from the age of between 25 and 30, our hormones start to decline. Our HGH declines about 10 to 15% every decade. Now, we add into that all of the hormone disruptors that we're eating that are on our food that we don't even know about. If you're washing your dishes with Blue Dawn soap, you're washing dishes and you're putting your hands in it, you're breathing it. That's a huge hormone disruptor. Shampoos, body lotions, all kinds of things. It's coming from the air, it's coming from the ground, it's coming from when you go grocery shopping, it's coming from when you buy things to put on your body. Your skin is the biggest organ in your body. It absorbs things, right? So we're not aware that we're doing these things. And so a big part of helping us with our hormones is to actually clean up our lives. So there's a whole education piece that one could do around that. We're going to move on though. So as we're going through every 10 years, we're losing 10 to 15% of our human growth hormone. Well, when mama's happy and abundant and juicy, so is everybody else, because she can become any glandular to support the body. So it's all about balance. So what we're doing, if we can feed the body for it to create its own hormone, right? There's a difference between giving it a hormone, which HGH, the most popular thing, and what you find when you go look on the internet is the dangers of taking HGH injections, because you're putting an external hormone in large quantities into your body through an injectable needle that your body can only use so much of, and then the rest of it radicalizes, so it goes and creates havoc in the body over long periods of time. So instead of taking something that is like that you're injecting into your body, you're taking something that actually goes into your body, because this is homeopathic based. So Homeopathics goes to the pituitary gland and tickles the pituitary gland to create more HGH. So over time, the body's HGH starts to build up, and we like to call it hormone optimization therapy. We don't do that. We're not the expert. The body is. The body decides. On top of that, the smart thing that they did is they added a homeopathic for the thyroid. They added a homeopathic for the adrenal, because massive of the population, massive amount of the population has thyroids that aren't working. Massive part of the population, most people's adrenals are supposed to be the size of like a small kidney bean, and they're like the tip of a pencil. They're so shriveled up from all the cortisol, like the no sleep, the stress, the chronic stress we live under because of the crazy movies, the things that we put in our ears and through our eyes, and what we're existing in, and the fast pace. All of these things are really hard on us. So your meditation that you're doing every day makes a big difference, right? And different things that we can do in our lives. When we get the support, when the glands are doing the work, we're tickling those glands to actually become alive again. So that gets sparked up. And I mean, there's a lot more actually in there, but that's just a little peekaboo as far as what's available. And it's not a supplement, because you can't take HGH through here because your digestive system destroys it.
So
I saw something brewing, so I stopped.
yeah. I was thinking. So I'm like, you can't inject it.
You can if you want to, and people do. People do. They do it for bodybuilding, for recovery, for anti-aging. People take it for all kinds of stuff. So you can take it that way. It's very expensive, and it's painful. And if you're buying it cheap, that's apparently a big mistake, because again, you don't know what's in it, right? So they do have it. It is regulated to a certain degree. In some countries more than in others, but bodybuilders use HGH. They also use testosterone.
Right.
So HGH is a amazing gift, that's something that happens in our body. But we're so we're so sometimes obsessed with things that it's like go big or go home, and that's not necessarily the way most of the time, I'm finding out.
So you can inject it, but you shouldn't take it in a pill form.
No. What I'm saying is that what's available for HGH out there is if you're taking it as an exogenous kind of a thing, which means it's not being made by your body. It's being jacked into your body, right? It's expensive, it's painful, and it comes with side effects. It's not something that's recommended to do long term. Okay? You can take it as a supplement, but the supplements don't work because they get broken down by the digestive system.
Okay, so how are we taking it? I guess
as far as what my perspective is it's actually it's a transdermal gel, and it's homeopathics as well as botanicals, whole leaf botanicals that are specifically chosen, and it's a gel that you rub into the if my hands were free, I could show you. But you pump it onto your forearms, and you rub your forearms together. I also put it internally because I'm working at rebuilding the layers of skin inside my
vagina. So hi, George. So we got one of my classic tribe members, I guess, if you will, my hotties, showed up today, and he's a guy. I have a lot of male viewers, actually. So we talked about some things that women might use it for. Of course, guys like to age backwards too. And you mentioned bodybuilders take it and like all of that. And I used to do pro wrestling, so the pro wrestlers took it.
Absolutely.
So, and with testosterone. So so this is obviously a good thing for men as
It
well.
is, yes, very much so. My husband has seen big changes already. We've both only been on it for, I've been on it for 5 months and he's been on it for 4 months. His hair is regrowing. He had a big bald spot that was happening on the top of his head. So that's filling in very nicely. For men, again, it helps to, their erections get better. When your HGH goes up, so there's over 50 or 40, over 40 known side benefits to elevated HGH in the body. And it's everything from cognitive to hard-ons.
Wow. So I'm
Uh-huh.
guessing your sex life 10x between the two of you.
It's 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 a work in progress, but yes, it's improving. I seem to be the biggest problem, but not the problem, the challenge. But yeah,
Yeah.
healing takes time.
Yeah.
You
It
know,
does.
so it's really exciting because I noticed within like days, my husband said to me, "Okay, I can't believe this." He says, "But in 2 days, I've seen a difference in you." And I went, "What are you noticing?" He says, "You're happier."
Wow.
This is big because how often do you see people as they age, they get less and less happy? How would you like to
Mhm.
have joy, amplified joy in your life, where you just feel so good? And if someone goes like, "What are you? What's up with you?" I'm just really, really happy. Like,
I love that.
yeah. So up level joy, my brain. And so anyway, that he noticed that I was happier. My emotions were more even keel in 2 days. My emotions were more even keel. And he said, "You started singing as you're walking through the house again,"
Oh, I
which
love
is a big
that.
deal for me because that's my being. There's always a song going on in my head. And when that song stops, there's something wrong.
Wow.
And so, and then within weeks, I noticed my brain was improving. So I was in a place before I started, I was not expecting anything I mean, I didn't know what to expect. I actually made myself not look at all the possible benefits because I didn't want to be influenced. So some of the things I already knew, but there were so many of them that I didn't know that so many of the things that I didn't know, so I could be surprised when they did actually happen for me. So my functioning of my brain completely changed. I was finding myself going up on stage and I always had to take my music book. I don't do that anymore. And
Wow.
that's amazing. We need you to move your cart, please. I'm actually on an interview right now.
So what we'll do is I'm going to hold that thought
Yes.
and you go do what you have to do. And
Okay.
I am going to share some thoughts I have about that. How about that?
I appreciate that. Yeah, I can. That
Okay.
would be fabulous. Thank you so much.
So don't worry. Kate will be right back. But this is a live podcast and shit happens. All right. So, what do you guys think about that? Like, what do you think about human growth hormone? I'm curious about it. I like natural things and I like more joy. Who doesn't want more joy in their life? Who doesn't want an improved sex life? Who doesn't want their hair to grow back? Who doesn't want to feel stronger and better in their body as they're growing older? I mean, I do. And so I just think this was such an interesting topic to bring to Hot Topics Live podcast because I know that so many of you are, wanting to have the best life. So many of you are wanting to find ways to heal your body and to look good as long as you can, no matter how old you are. I mean, like I said, I started my anti aging journey at 25, and now people are always asking me what I do. Right. And I mean, this has been a lifelong study for me. And every time I find something new and interesting, I definitely bring it to the podcast. And I love to bring guests that have this kind of knowledge about things that we can try. Right. And that they've done the research. And then obviously do your own research, look into it, talk to your naturopath if you have one, talk to your doctor And also do your own research, because sometimes Western medicine is not the best. And so you do have to think outside of the box. But the goal is to have our bodies functioning optimally for as long as possible. So I hope you're really enjoying this. Kate will be back in a second, but I think it's really important for us to really look at how we can um, improve the way we feel, because the way we feel and obviously the way we think dictates our day to day life. And as we're getting older, you heard Kate say it, like, joy diminishes. And it can feel like that for people. And who wants that? Who wants to feel unhappy every day? I don't. Okay. My goal is always to go to bed happy and wake up happy, meaning that I have the whole day filled with joy. And if there's something out there that can help me do that as I'm getting older, because as you're getting older, I think you're getting a bit more concerned about time, and that starts to factor in. So we want to do anything possible to start feeling our best, or feel better and better and better, and to have that joy and maintain that zest for life at any age. Because let's face it, none of us, and I do mean none of us, are getting any younger. So no matter how old you are, which generation you're in, if you happen upon this as a short or a video or as the full length live podcast, you're getting older. And there's going to be a lot of things that happen in your life that suck. So the important thing is to find ways to maintain joy and to maintain happiness and to feel your best at any age. I think that's absolutely critical. And so that's why I wanted to bring on Kate and have her talk about human growth hormone, because I didn't know much about it. Like, that's not something that I studied. So I love the fact that I can have these people come on here and educate me and you on these things that can potentially help us to live our best life possible, because that is what this podcast is all about. And so I'm really happy that she was able to share that. And I really love that it's something that you can put on your skin. I took bioidentical estrogen that way, and I think it absorbed really well. And it is a viable option to take something, I think, transdermally. And it gets in there really quickly and it helps you feel better really fast. At least that was my experience with the bioidentical estrogen. So I would like to try something, and I may try this, because I think if you can get your glands functioning on their own and creating more of what you need naturally, I mean, it makes perfect sense that if you're supplementing, and like if you're giving it to your body, then it may stop creating it because it's just being given. It does make sense, right? So I like the idea of that. And I think that it's something that I'm definitely going to try. And what do you guys think about what I said earlier about your sex life, right? Because as you get older, I know a lot of couples, when I was younger, I would see just living as just friends. Like, they're comfortable, they don't want to split apart, but they are not having sex anymore, right? Basically, straight up. And I think that that is a very common thing in relationships now. And I think it's incredibly sad. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do an entire episode on that, actually. I think I'll do it on my Dating After Divorce series. So if you haven't seen that, go to my Hot Topics Live channel page You'll see them everywhere. And make sure you subscribe, like, share with someone who might need this or like this or want this information. And definitely check those out. But I think I'm going to do an episode there where I dive a little deeper into this, what I call this silent epidemic of like sexless relationships or divorces, the high rate of divorce that happens because intimacy is not existing in a relationship, and the fact that that is largely to do with sex, and the fact that intimacy begins before foreplay for women. And have you guys heard of Susan Bratton? I follow her. I love all of her stuff, and she teaches a lot about the importance of sex as we age. This is also sort of anti-aging, right? So I think it's really important. And if this human growth hormone can help, with painful sex for women as they're getting older, because it's really common, and it is a big detractor of the experience for women, it makes them just not want to have it. So if this was happening to her, and I know it happens to other people, I have friends that it happens to, and this can be something that's helpful, that is amazing. And I think it's really important that we continue to just do the things that we need to do to make sure that we're keeping intimacy alive in our relationships, or they're going to fall apart. So this human growth hormone seems to have so many benefits for so many different aspects of our body and ultimately our life, right? I see why she called it the mama. I definitely see why she called it the mama. So I don't know. When she comes back, I'm going to find out how she's taking it and where we can get it. And then we're going to wrap it up. So I think she's just about ready. So I'll bring her on in another couple of minutes. But what do you guys think? If you have any thoughts or comments and you're watching this live, you can definitely leave a comment and I'll put it up on the screen. You'll be part of the show. Or if you have a question for Kate, you can drop it in the comments. And if you're watching this after it's live, set your notifications so you know when I come live, because I don't even know when I come live half the time. And you can definitely come on and leave your comments and everything like that. So I think that's what we'll do. Just set your notifications, share, and stay tuned for a dating after divorce episode with the topic of intimacy and relationships, and why I think a lot of these divorces are happening, because talking to lots of people like I do, I'm finding that intimacy is really lagging. And so, since Kate is not quite ready yet, I'm going to go to the special thing that I do at the end of every episode. And if she comes back in time, we'll finish up with her. Right. So, this is the special thing. If you've been watching till now, you can consider yourself one of my hotties, part of the tribe, if you will. And you should just set your notifications and subscribe if you haven't. Okay. If you're a man watching, most of my audience is men. Can I just tell you how much I appreciate you? Really, I appreciate you for taking the time out of your life and out of your day to spend it with me. Okay. And I love that. I love that you do that for me. And thank you so much for watching and supporting this podcast, and for your comments. You guys do me so properly. Like, I appreciate it so much, honestly. Like, it's amazing that you do that. So, let's do this. Hold on 2 seconds. So I have these cards by Brianne Hovey. And she has created the Soul Truth Awareness deck. So we're going to play a little card game. This is it. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to shuffle up these cards. I want you to take a deep breath for me. Right, close your eyes, relax, And I'm going to get a message for you from, I don't know, whatever you believe in, God, source, the universe, spirit, Allah. I mean, this is a no judgment zone. Okay. And I am going to shuffle up these cards, and I am going to let one fly out. That's how it works, so that it's completely random. And I am going to give you a message, right? So 2 seconds. I'm going to see what's going on with Kate, and we'll go from there. So 2 seconds. Let me see. Let me just keep going. I think she's trying to come back in. We're live, so things happen. The show goes on. Okay, so where was I? Let's have this fly out. Oh, that happened really fast. Hold on, it fell. Hold on. Okay, I got your card. All right. Oh, when was the last time I couldn't stop laughing or smiling? That is your soul truth for today. Here's your message. Go back to a moment when you laughed so hard you almost peed your pants, or did. I have so many of those moments. I love to laugh so hard that I cry. It's my favorite. And feel the laughter growing your body, your cheeks hurting and eyes watering. Maybe there was even a snort or two. So me. Laughter is healing. It reminds us to take life less seriously and find the joy in the littlest things. Note to self, laugh more often. Today's soul action, make somebody laugh today. I think that's amazing and such good energy. By the way, if you love pretty pictures and you like pinup, well, then you'll just have to follow my pinup journey. If you want to follow my pinup journey, you can do that on my Instagram. You can follow me here at all of these places. Okay. And at Creativity is where you can find all of my pictures, all of the magazines that I'm in. I think it's like 7 or 8 now. Here's 2 of them. Here's my receipts. Hold up. Here's my receipts. Okay. Here's 2 of them, my 2 covers. So I'm really proud of that. And this was something I started late in life to give back to myself, because all the opportunities I had when I was a young woman, I was way too insecure. And I kept getting offers to do amazing things. And I did do some of them, but I would always like find a reason to walk away from it because of my own insecurities. Real tea. So once I got older, I realized that I cheated myself, and now I'm giving it back. And special shout out to Retro Lovely magazine and Michael Bann, may he rest in peace, for giving me that opportunity to be a cover girl. And I'm creating beautiful pictures and art, and it's a way that I express myself through beautiful, sexy images. So if that's your thing, and you're into that sort of thing, or you want to collect them in case I become famous one day, go here and you can find them. I don't know about TikTok. There's this TikTok ban. We'll see what happens, but I'm just started on there. So if you want to go support me on there, please do. The Female Veterans Podcast is on there as well. You can support me there. If you know a female veteran, send her my way. Send her to the podcast. Tell her to go support the Female Veterans Podcast YouTube channel. It's new, so please go do that. And I'm hoping Kate will come back, but if not, we're just going to wrap it up. And I hope you really got something from this episode. And you know, it looks like she's coming. So, all right, well, let's just keep going. Let's keep going. So definitely follow me there. I covered the cards. I did that. And I said, thank you so much for watching. And you know what the thing is about live podcasts? They're so much fun, but there's no editing. So this is real. Like this is what happens. And if you didn't catch the beginning of the podcast, we were talking about technical resistance, right? And the resistance for us to do this podcast. And Kate is in Mexico, and she's had so much trouble trying to do this episode. If you didn't see the first one we did, there was like a sound issue, and we had to like wrap that show. The same kind of situation this time. She found another place. Like when I tell you we have been working so hard to bring you this information, it's not a joke. Okay, it's not a joke. So without further ado, I am going to bring her back on, and I'm going to ask her like what she's taking and where we can get it, basically. And here she is. Hi, welcome back.
Wow, this has been so interesting. And I have to keep my voice down because now somebody's napping and we have a dog and we have a whole bunch of stuff going on now. So,
Yes. Well, we're going to wrap it up really quickly, but I
okay.
just wanted to ask you two more little things. And
hmm
the first one is, what are you taking?
It's a product called Somaderm, and I am a distributor for the product. So if people would like to get in touch with me, then they can reach me on WhatsApp at 416-854-0486, or you can reach me at kate.a.unger@gmail.com. And you can tag me on Instagram because you have my Instagram post there. So just tag me there. I also have information for anyone that is looking for information because it's all about education. So my big thing is education, and it may be for you and it may not be for you. So feel comfortable for us to have a conversation because that's super important. I want to know what's going on for you, and if this can potentially help you, then hey, it also comes with a money back guarantee. So how do you like that?
Wow.
Um, yeah, it's pretty special. So I tell people when people ask me for a price up front, I just go, it's 60 days for free if it doesn't work. How about starting there? Now let's do the education and see whether it's even something that you want to do. So
Interesting. Tell me
yeah,
what is it called?
it's called Soma
Soma.
Derm.
Okay, Somaderm. That's
Yeah,
what you said. Okay.
yeah,
And this is the like a gel that you put on.
yes.
And so how we get it is through
It
you.
comes in a container and you get it through me. Yeah.
Okay. Great. And
And
so
if you're in the United States, that's amazing. Easy access.
awesome.
It'll take a few days to get to you. Yeah.
But you can get it from anywhere around the world if you wanted to take it.
Yeah, we are in 17 different countries. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible. So, and what is the benefit of taking it through your skin and through the gel?
Because you're bypassing the digestive system.
Okay. So it goes,
Right?
does it like absorb
It goes to
faster?
very well. It's you're when you so first of all, HGH doesn't go through the digestive system. It gets digested. So
Mhm.
when you put it on your skin, you're bypassing the entire digestive system, and it's going right directly into the bloodstream.
Great.
hmm
And and you said for you, your husband noticed within 2 days a difference? Is that
A difference
typical?
on for me? No, it's variable. It depends on what people's sensitivities are. As far as I mean, everybody's in a different hormonal place. So 97% of people feel a change.
Wow.
97%. 80% of those feel it within 2 weeks. So that leaves 17% after the 2 weeks. You're not actually feeling the HGH in the beginning, anyways. It's all the other good stuff that's in there that's making a
Hmm.
difference.
What other
Because
good stuff is in
it
there?
was, well, what's in there is thyroid support, adrenal support, and botanicals. adaptogens, things that, like, it's amazing when you get educated about the different things that are in there. And when I first read the ingredient list, because that's my thing, when I first read the ingredient list, I was surprised, and I looked at the ingredient list and went, oh, if this is like 10% as good as it sounds, I'm in.
Wow.
So yeah.
That's incredible. I feel like I have one last question before we wrap it up. And
Okay.
that is, you told me before that you aged backwards.
I was talking about numbers. You took,
Yes.
but
No, no, no. I mean the
yeah,
numbers.
yeah, yeah. Okay. So the
So
question is, yeah.
so the question is, by taking this, like you have, so for example, say I was 30
Oh,
years old. Would this make me like, because you have like so what I'm thinking of is you have like a biological age, right?
yeah.
And you have
When
your
I
age.
was, okay, I just want to clarify, because when we were
Okay.
having that conversation, what I'm saying, when I'm doing is, when I turned 60, I decided I was going to start going backwards. That's why I said I was 57. Now I'm 56.
I love
That
it.
was before this ever happened. This was
Oh, I
4 years
see.
ago.
Well, I guess then it's mental aging backwards, and I'm sure this can only help.
Well, and that does happen. So you're not going to go backwards to the age of 18, but
Right.
there's going to be things that are going to be re-enlivened in your life. That it's like, hey, who doesn't want to bring the juicy back?
Facts.
Yeah.
And with that, I want to thank you so much for being a guest. It
Thank
has
you
been
for inviting me.
wonderful catching up with you. I hope that everyone will go listen to your podcast. I know you have episodes up on Spotify and Apple and Google and pretty much anywhere you can listen to podcasts and find out how to live their juiciest life with you. And I want to thank you so much for sharing this information because I thought it was pretty relevant and important. And
It
I
is.
think you're never too young to start thinking about your future and start preventative medicine is the best medicine, right? So doing
Hmm.
things for yourself to feel good and add longevity and joy to your
Absolutely.
life.
Hmm.
So thank you so much for being a guest. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Kia. Thank you, everyone.
And with that, I'm going to
Remember
put,
this, you are a miracle.
yes, I'm going to put you in the green room. If you have time to wait and say a proper goodbye, I'll see you in a second. If not, I totally understand and I'll catch up with you later. Bye for now. Thanks so
Bye.
much for coming. Well, that was incredible. I'm super excited. We got to wrap up the episode. What happens when you have a live podcast? Shit happens. You just roll with it. Anyways, it builds you and it makes you stronger. So we don't just fold, we push through the resistance. And that is the message for today. Thank you so much for watching. I love you guys. I'll see you next week with another episode of Dating After Divorce, I think. So set your notifications so you know when I come live. Make sure you subscribe. Send me some love in the comments. I love you guys, and I'll talk to you next time.